Has you ever considered that the most important moment of your life might be something you've completely, entirely forgotten?
Oh, wow. Yeah, like not just a little hazy, but entirely wiped from your hard drive.
Exactly. Completely gone. And that is the mission of our deep dive today. We're pulling from a really fascinating narrative text today called Van Bunduk Dan.
Right.
And we're going to unpack how one ordinary, forgotten habit can quietly shape a life
Right.
and, just ripple across decades.
It's such a compelling text because it fundamentally challenges the way we view our own legacies. I mean, we tend to think we consciously author all our major turning points.
Right, like we're writing our own biography in real time.
Exactly. We assume we log all the critical moments as they happen.
Yeah.
But human memory and, well, systemic human impact, they operate on an entirely different set of rules.
They really do. So to ground this concept for you, the listener, the text introduces us to this guy, Noah Carter.
Noah is such a great focal point for this.
He is. So Noah is a 36-year-old single father living in a modest neighborhood just outside Fort Worth, Texas. And his life is just defined by this quiet consistency.
Very routine.
Very. I mean, he drives a 12-year-old pickup truck, and every Friday, without fail, he makes pancakes for his daughter, Lily.
Which is a tradition he keeps to honor his late wife.
Yeah, exactly. It's really sweet. And every single morning, he makes sure Lily has her faded blue backpack.
The one with the little stitched yellow star on the front.
That's the one. So Noah works as a maintenance technician at this massive engineering firm called Grant Dynamics.
And this is where the thematic foundation really gets set, because Noah represents what we might call the invisible infrastructure of society.
The invisible infrastructure. I like that phrase.
Yeah, I mean, he's the kind of person who solves problems without seeking an audience, in a corporate ecosystem that usually rewards the loud innovators.
Highly visible disruptors.
Exactly, the people making all the noise. But Noah is a preserver. People generally only notice him when something goes wrong.
Right.
Which, based on his psychological profile in the text, is exactly how he prefers it to be.
He doesn't want the spotlight at all. And that invisible nature really comes to a head with this secret tradition at Grant Dynamics.
Oh, the Everyday Kindness Award.
Yes. So the founder and CEO, Evelyn Grant, established this award. And it bypasses standard corporate metrics entirely.
Right, like there's no talk of sales quotas
Or synergy or whatever corporate buzzwords are trending. It purely honors employees who help others when they have absolutely nothing to gain from it.
And Noah's name consistently surfaces here, which is fascinating.
Yeah, he's been nominated for the Secret Award 4 times in 3 years.
But he always politely declines the recognition.
Always. He asks instead that the gift card that comes with it be routed to the Employee Emergency Fund.
Which just perfectly establishes his baseline behavior long before he ever even crosses paths with the CEO.
Exactly. And Evelyn, the CEO, she reads these nominations to ground herself, but she never actually connects this dependable maintenance worker to her own past.
Not until they collide.
Right. Which brings us to the collision of these two very different worlds. So picture this. It's a Wednesday morning at the Dallas headquarters.
The executive floor.
Yeah, Evelyn Grant is visiting for a major quarterly leadership meeting, and the executive floor is just buzzing with this high-stakes corporate theater.
You've got VPs rehearsing presentations, assistants frantically managing schedules.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
And Noah's just there to fix a broken cooling unit.
Just doing his job.
So he's walking down this highly polished hallway with his toolbox. The conference door is open, and Evelyn walks out, just surrounded by her entourage.
The narrative builds such a brilliant visual contrast here. You have this highly curated, heavily managed, performative culture colliding right into raw, unmanaged reality.
It's like a movie scene. Because an assistant turns too quickly, and this scalding cup of coffee slips out of her hands.
Heading straight for Evelyn's clothes.
Straight for her. But Noah doesn't freeze. He drops his tools, catches Evelyn gently by the elbow to guide her backward out of harm's way, steadies the falling cup, and just in the heat of the moment he blurts out,
"Easy, baby."
"Easy, baby." Yes. The entire hallway just goes dead silent.
I mean, the tension in that moment.
Oh, Noah realizes he just called the CEO of a massive engineering firm baby. He is mortified.
Understandably.
But Evelyn isn't angry. She just stares at him. She tears up, leans in, and whispers 4 life-changing words.
"You finally said it."
You finally said it. Okay, let's unpack this, because if you're listening, you might be thinking, why would he say that?
Right.
But his word choice wasn't a calculated PR move, and it certainly wasn't meant as disrespect. It is pure muscle memory.
Exactly.
Think of a major league shortstop fielding a line drive at 100 miles an hour. They don't stop to calculate the trajectory of the ball or, think about their contract negotiation.
Then he's just catching.
They just catch it. And the text points out that this is the exact same instinct Noah uses to pull his daughter, Lily, back from traffic, or to warn elderly neighbors about an uneven sidewalk.
What's fascinating here is the psychology of performativity versus authenticity. I mean, those executives in the hallway, they spend an immense amount of cognitive load managing their image.
Every word is calculated.
Every single syllable. But Noah's reaction was entirely unfiltered. Evelyn wasn't shocked by the informal language. She recognized the authentic voice of kindness she had been searching for.
She saw his mask slip.
Exactly. For the listener navigating their own workplace, think about the professional mask you wear versus your baseline reflexes. When a sudden crisis hits, the mask slips.
And underneath Noah's mask was just pure instinctive protection.
It wasn't about the specific word he used at all. It was about the underlying reflex driving it.
But of course, Noah is entirely unaware of this dynamic. He goes back to fixing pressure valves, just spiraling.
He fully expects to be fired by the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. So by 4 p.m., his supervisor tells him the CEO wants to see him privately. He steps into Evelyn's office on the executive floor, and the environment immediately subverts his expectations.
The physical space is so telling in this scene.
It really is. There are no luxury leather couches or, marble bars.
Right. It's decorated with books on community service. There are framed photos of employees volunteering at food banks.
Building wheelchair ramps?
It's a visual representation of her actual priorities, just totally stripped of corporate posturing.
So she offers him a seat and a cup of coffee. She jokes that he clearly knows how to handle a spill.
Which is a great way to break the ice.
Yeah, and she isn't there to fire him. She opens a folder and shows him his 4 kindness nominations.
The ones he kept turning down.
Right. Staying 3 hours late to fix a machine so the night shift is safe. Repairing a coworker's wheelchair ramp over the weekend. Quietly paying for the cafeteria lunches of temporary workers.
And Noah is actually embarrassed by this.
He is. He insists to her that these things simply weren't important enough to write down.
To which Evelyn essentially replies that they were important enough for 4 different people to remember them years later.
Exactly. But then the meeting pivots sharply. She reaches into her desk to reveal why she remembered him.
The artifact.
The artifact. She places a faded black umbrella on the table. It has a bent metal spoke and a worn wooden handle.
Such a specific, mundane object.
Yeah. And she explains that 15 years ago, she was living the absolute worst day of her life.
Her father had just passed away.
Her father died, leaving her buried in debt. She had been rejected from her dream job for the 3rd time.
Just a cascading series of crises.
She was broke, her lease was up, and she was standing at a bus stop in the pouring rain, completely out of hope.
Ready to give up?
Yeah. Hundreds of people walked right past her. But Noah stopped.
He handed her his umbrella.
He handed her his umbrella, and he said this amazing quote: "Storms always seem longer when you believe you are facing them alone."
Wow.
And he also left a handwritten note tucked inside it that read, "If today feels impossible, promise yourself you will at least see tomorrow. Better days have a habit of arriving quietly."
I mean, he essentially handed a lifeline to a person who is practically drowning in despair.
He did. But I have to say, I struggle a bit with this part of the narrative.
How so?
Well, handing someone an umbrella and a profoundly insightful handwritten note in the pouring rain, that isn't exactly a passive act.
True.
I find it really hard to believe someone just completely forgets saving another person's life trajectory. Is Noah just oblivious? Or is there a real reason he doesn't log this memory?
This raises an important question, and it gets right into the mechanics of memory encoding.
Okay, lay it on me.
So we don't record our days like continuous video cameras, right? We flag specific moments based on emotional salience and chemical responses.
Like adrenaline?
Like adrenaline from trauma, exactly. Or dopamine from immense relief. For Evelyn, this intervention interrupted a state of extreme crisis.
So her brain marked it as important.
Highly emotionally charged, so it was burned permanently into her long-term memory.
But for Noah, his emotional state was just, neutral?
Precisely. Noah's baseline behavior is helping people. I mean, he pays for lunches, he fixes ramps, he pulls people out of the way of falling coffee.
It's just his default setting.
Right. When an action is just part of your routine baseline, your brain doesn't expend the cognitive energy to flag it as a core memory.
Oh, wow.
To Evelyn, this was a life-saving intervention. But to Noah, it was just a Tuesday.
That is wild to think about. If you're listening right now, it's really worth thinking about your own baseline behaviors.
Absolutely.
What are the things you do so automatically, like holding an elevator, actively listening to a venting coworker, or just sending an encouraging text, that your brain doesn't even bother to record them?
We constantly fail to measure the true weight of our own daily habits. We assume our legacy only comes from, the massive, stressful projects we agonize over.
And really, it might be the small stuff.
Yeah.
So the narrative then shifts from this revelation of the past to how these shared values actively manifest in the present day.
Because Evelyn asks if she can meet Noah's daughter Lily at a company event the next day.
Right. So the very next day, Grant Dynamics is dedicating a new children's library they funded at Oak Ridge Elementary.
Which conveniently happens to be Lily's school.
Exactly. And all the volunteers are wearing shirts reading, "Everyday kindness begins here."
Echoing the phrasing of the secret award.
Yeah. And Evelyn skips the corporate posturing entirely at this event. She gives a very brief speech about how books offer hope, and then she immediately steps down to sit with the kids.
Which aligns perfectly with the values we saw displayed in her office.
Right.
She doesn't need the podium. She doesn't need the applause.
No, she ends up sitting in these two tiny little chairs under a reading tree mural right next to Lily.
And Lily asks her a question, doesn't she?
Yes, Lily innocently asks, "Did you ever meet my daddy before he became my daddy?"
Oh, that's sweet.
And Evelyn looks across the room at Noah and says, "Yes, sweetheart. I met him on a day when both of us needed hope, even though only one of us knew it."
But the real climax of this whole sequence happens right after that.
Yeah, the school principal approaches them with this artifact from the school's historical archives.
It is a dusty, framed photograph from one of the company's very first literacy drives at that exact school.
Almost 15 years prior.
Right.
So in the foreground of this photo, there's a young Evelyn holding donated books. But in the background, slightly blurred out, is a young guy in work boots,
Carrying a worn backpack.
walking away. And Noah looks at the photo, and his memory finally clicks. He remembers that after giving away his umbrella, his old truck died.
Of course it did.
He walked a mile in the rain, found this flooded elementary school acting as a temporary shelter, emptied his last few dollars into a donation jar, and spent 2 hours moving boxes.
And Evelyn, the girl from the bus stop, had walked into that exact same gymnasium that night.
So what does this all mean? Reading this, it initially feels like a Hollywood script to me. It feels like movie-level magical coincidence.
It does feel like magic, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's actually demonstrating a core concept in behavioral psychology.
Okay, wait a second.
It's called behavioral activation.
Behavioral activation.
Right. At the bus stop, Noah told Evelyn that helping someone else is the fastest way to stop feeling hopeless.
Oh, I see where this is going.
He didn't just give her an umbrella, he gave her a behavioral intervention.
So he essentially gave her a specific set of instructions to break her mental loop.
Exactly. When someone is trapped in a rumination cycle of despair, physical movement and changing the immediate environment is the absolute quickest way to interrupt that cycle.
And she actually listened to him.
She took his advice literally and immediately. She didn't go home to wallow. She went to the nearest place offering shelter and just started working.
Wow.
By telling her to help someone else, Noah short-circuited her brain's panic mode and forced it into problem-solving mode. Action breeds action.
So his advice literally dictated her next physical steps.
Exactly. Putting them in the exact same room a few hours later, it's a direct chain of causality, not some supernatural fate.
That completely reframes the entire interaction. I mean, that night became the behavioral foundation for everything Evelyn built at Grant Dynamics.
Yes.
That's why she whispered, "You finally said it," in the hallway.
Right. She hadn't been waiting for some grand romantic reunion.
She was waiting for confirmation that the kind young man who shifted her behavioral trajectory was still out there, operating on that exact same frequency.
And the aftermath of this realization reshapes both of their futures. But, it remains incredibly grounded.
We see that ripple effect clearly in the final sequences of the text. Lily reaches into her backpack and gives Evelyn a handmade bookmark.
The yellow star.
Yeah, a yellow star drawn with colored pencils. And it says, "Every story deserves a happy ending."
And Evelyn treats this piece of paper like a priceless artifact.
She really does. So fast forward a few weeks, and Grant Dynamics launches this massive community mentorship initiative, connecting employees directly with schools and youth programs.
But notice the mechanism of how the company handles Noah's involvement in this new initiative.
This is a great point.
Evelyn don't just hand him a directorial role as a favor. Doing that would completely undermine the integrity of the corporate culture she's trying to build.
Right, here's where it gets really interesting. They open the position through the standard hiring process.
And Noah, completely true to his nature, doesn't even want to apply.
No, he assumes he lacks the corporate qualifications. It's his co-workers, the people who actually see him paying for lunches and fixing machines behind the scenes, who push him to submit his name.
And a blind selection committee unanimously chooses him.
Unanimously. They didn't know about the umbrella, or the bus stop, or the coffee spill.
They picked him because he listens, he solves problems without seeking credit, and he inherently respects people's dignity.
Which highlights a vital truth about systemic impact in the workplace.
Yeah.
True leadership isn't measured by job titles.
Or the square footage of an office.
Or the volume of a presentation, right? It is measured by the number of people who trust you enough to follow your example.
Noah had built that trust invisibly, day by day, year by year.
And the text makes a very specific point not to give Noah a fairy tale wealth makeover at the end.
Right. Months later, he is still driving the exact same 12-year-old pickup truck.
Lily is still carrying the faded blue backpack with the yellow star. The happy ending here isn't about suddenly acquiring wealth or executive power.
The happy ending is about alignment.
Alignment.
Yeah, it is the alignment of Noah's deep, inherent character with a platform that is actually designed to help more people. He finally occupies a role that perfectly matches his reflex for kindness.
And as for Evelyn, it reveals that her legacy as a highly successful CEO isn't built solely on her business acumen.
No, the foundation of her entire enterprise rests on the quiet generosity of a stranger she met 15 years prior.
And they maintain their friendship, not through, grand corporate gestures, but patiently over coffee and school visits.
Because the strongest relationships and the most enduring legacies are built one ordinary day at a time.
Absolutely. So bringing this all directly back to you, the listener, you might be commuting right now, prepping for a stressful meeting, or just doing the dishes.
Going about your routine baseline.
Yeah, your Tuesday routine. It is incredibly easy to fall into the trap of wondering if the small things you do actually matter. Right.
Like if letting that car merge or holding that elevator or leaving a kind note for a coworker makes any structural difference in the universe. The story of Noah and Evelyn proves that kindness is never small.
It's just that we usually don't get the privilege of discovering its true size until years later.
Exactly.
We've spent this whole deep dive analyzing the positive ripple effects of our invisible habits.
Right.
But, it leaves you with a slightly more intimidating psychological question to mull over.
Okay, what is it? Let's hear it.
Well, if our reflexive kindnesses carry this much invisible, life-altering weight over 15 years, what about our reflexive moments of impatience?
Oh.
What are the invisible, decades-long ripples of the times we choose to walk past the bus stop and keep the umbrella to ourselves? That is definitely a heavy, fascinating thought to hold on to today. We've traced the path from a broken cooling unit to a faded umbrella, and finally to a life completely reshaped by a forgotten habit. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Pay attention to those quiet, reflexive moments today. You never know who is waiting for the storm to pass. Catch you next time.